Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Sabas Pro Series Hook and Loop training gloves. Stay tuned. Okay, so today we have the Sabas Pro Series 16-ounce Velcro training gloves. We'll do a close-up weigh and review on. These are their newer style Pro Series gloves. It's been a few years since I've done a review on these gloves, and I wanted to revisit them because there's been a lot of information out there in regards to whether or not they're made in Mexico, how the quality is now compared to before. The quality has gone downhill. Just been a lot of information out there, so I wanted to see them for myself to see how they are compared to my old ones. I have an old white custom pair I had, and I even had a blue and black pair years ago that the foam finally gave out on it. But full leather construction. One thing you notice is they improved their stitching as well as the piping around the Velcro strap, which I'll show you here in a little bit. Piping on the palm looks good. Medium-sized grip bar, ventilated holes on the thumb. One thing you notice is there's a little bit of bleeding of color right there between the red and the white, which I think is pretty normal for dyed leather hides. You'll get a little bit of color transfer, especially with the amount of rubbing this is doing against each other. So split thumb with the white and red looks really clean. Still uses the old logo on the back of the glove that's printed. It says Sabas Champion or Sabas Champions Fight Gear. They do use their their newer font and logo, which is a cloth patch on the back of the Velcro strap. 16 ounces there. And then on the inside of the gloves, just to show you guys, it actually says, and they do use their satin polyester liner. But on the inside, she says, made in Mexico. So here it says Sabas Pro Series. It says made in Mexico on the tag on both of them. So, you know, that's what they say. They're made there. They do look a lot like some of the Pakistan gloves after the fact that I've seen the Fight to Finish gloves and the Infinitudes that are very, very similar to the Sabas gloves, which those are made in Pakistan. So that's a little weird, the fact that they look really similar to some of the other Pakistan gloves. And traditional Mexican style gloves usually have thicker, like kind of a thicker leather that's a lot stiffer, latex foam on the inside with a lot more rugged liner. But again, maybe they get their material sourced differently and have them made in Mexico. Who knows? But that's what they say on the inside tag. Or maybe they're getting these made in Pakistan and then they just add the tags after, which I hope they wouldn't be doing. But again, I'm not there making these gloves, so I can't really say. All I can say is from the perspective of someone who just bought these gloves. But quality-wise, they look really nice. I mean, the leather looks really clean. The logos are done really sharply. Liner looks good. Piping looks clean. Stitching looks good. So overall, it looks really nice. You know, you have a little bit of double stitching there, but nothing too bad. I mean, nothing I would really raise my, a red flag and say, oh, wow, those are terrible. Nothing there at all. Everything looks really clean for the most part. So let's go ahead and put these on the scale, see how much they weigh. And start off with the right glove. Right glove is right at 15.6, 15.7, so almost at 16 ounces, which is nice. The left glove is right at 15.6 also. So the gloves are almost on weight and are exactly the same weight to each other. So it's nice that they're symmetrical to each other and they're almost at 16 ounces, which is great for training gloves. So let's go ahead and do the review. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Sabas Pro Series training gloves. I got mine in the red, black, and white color scheme. 16 ounce Velcro closure. You can get this anywhere between 12 to 16 ounces. You can also do these in a lace-ups. And color variation wise, it just depends. I noticed that Sabas is kind of like a seasonal thing. They don't really carry a stock color line. I know they used to before. I think they used to do like a red, black, and white, kind of like Grant. And they also did a blue, black, and white. But I believe it just depends on what their manufacturer makes for them or what they request that you'll see on their website. That's for sale. And then obviously, if you're very specific about the color you want to get, you want to do something custom, then you can do that as well. They do offer custom color schemes. Now, I wanted to revisit the Sabas Pro Series glove because it's been a couple of years since my last pair of Sabas gloves. I've heard that there's been some issues with quality control. I've heard some great things and I've also heard some not so great things. So I said, to hell with it, you know what, let me just go ahead and get me a new pair the Sabas Pro Series, and I kind of compare them to an older pair I have here, which I'll show you here in a second, my old custom pair, and see if there's any difference in the quality and the manufacturing with them. Also, there's been questions on whether or not they're authentically made in Mexico. There's been some information on the internet about them being genuinely made in Mexico. So I want to address that here today as well. Give you guys a little bit of a backstory on Sabas. I think I was the first person to review these gloves like 4 to 5 years ago. And at the time, they didn't actually have model designations like Pro Series Prime, Bellows, or Super Softs. They just had, I believe at the time it was called like Heavy Bag Training Glove by Sabas. They were the blue and black ones. I actually did a review on those, and I also did a separate video of me just hitting the heavy bag at the gym with them at the time. How I found, to give you guys a little backstory on how I found Sabas, was I was in Vegas for a week to visit in Vegas at the time, and I went to go to Faro's Fight Factory, which is Fernando Vargas's boxing gym in Vegas. And I believe Sabas actually had a glove that they made for them at the time. This is before Sabas was really big and more well known. And I believe that maybe Fernando Vargas and his team had contacted Sabas and had them make a couple gloves for them with their own logo and design. So when I saw them, I was like, man, those look really like grants. They look awesome. They look really comfortable. They look really just like dope gloves, and I really wanted to try them out. So I did a little research, and I come to find out they were Sabas, and then it grew into the company that we know today. So here are the Pro Series. You can see here, you know, profile-wise, they're pretty much the same as before. I do have my old custom Pro Series gloves you can see here. So you can see sizing-wise, they have not changed, both in terms of the length of the glove. They're pretty much the same size. These kind of have flattened out a little bit, but relatively speaking, you can see they're essentially the same size, same width, same kind of profile. So I'm pretty sure that, you know, if they're not using the same manufacturers, I'm sure whoever they are using to manufacture these gloves has the same cut and blueprint, if you want to call it, for these gloves. But you can see these are my ones I've had from years ago, and they've lasted for a while, man. I've used these. You can see that the leather is starting to crack a little bit, and they're a little beat up. But I mean, they're still holding together. You can see some of the foam is starting to bubble on these old ones. But the thumb is exactly the same. You can see there the inside palm. The two key differences I noticed with these two is going to be the padding along the wrist on the newer Pro Series is a lot more. You can see how much more thicker the padding is. They definitely increase the amount of padding on the inside wrist. And I'll just take that Velcro so you can just see how thick that padding is compared to the old Pro Series. Right here you can see it's a little flatter. It's not as much. So they definitely increase the amount of padding. And the other thing you notice is the piping is better quality. The piping on the older one, you can see is a lot flatter. Just feels a little bit more flimsy. The piping on the newer Pro Series has definitely more of a definitive feel. It feels a lot harder, more rolled. It just feels thicker. Even on the Velcro strap, you can see the piping on the newer Pro Series Velcro strap is definitely thicker, whereas the one on the older one is a little flatter and thinner. It doesn't have the same quality or feel as the new one does, where you can see it's a little bit thicker on the newer one. And then you can't see it, obviously, because it's inside the glove, but the fingertip compartment on the newer Pro Series has like a piece of foam right underneath the stitching to kind of keep your finger off the stitching. So they definitely did make some small improvements with this glove. Oh, the grip bar too. You can see the grip bar on the older one is a little bit smaller and a little softer on the older Pro Series, with the newer one is definitely more defined and more denser feeling. So small improvements over the older Pro Series, just to show you guys that off the bat. So you can see the profile of the glove, full leather construction. The logo, the Sabas logo, has remained relatively the same over the years. So Champions Fight Gear Sabas. These newer ones, they're experimenting with their newer style logo. You can see there, it says Sabas Boxing. That's a cloth logo that's stitched onto the back of the Velcro, 3.5-inch Velcro strap. It does have the 16-ounce tag that's stitched into the bottom of the cuff. Nice parallel thumb. You have the split thumb with the red and the white right there. You do have a leather attached thumb with the white stitching. This one incorporates white stitching throughout. White piping on the palm. Good medium-sized grip bar there. Ventilation on the thumb, not on the actual palm. split palm, the red and the black, double stitching. Another thing they improved on, just to show you, is they actually put a little bit more reinforced stitching. So they kind of, the old one didn't have the little X's in the rectangular box, and they added it to the newer style glove. So they added a little bit more stitching to the palm side right there. And open that up. You do still have that satin polyester nylon liner and then the elastic piece right here. Now the big question has been, are these gloves made in Mexico? And the tags on the inside say they are. Right there, you can see the tag. Just open that up. It says made in Mexico, Hetero in Mexico. They even have, kind of reminds me of Reyes, where it has the Hetero in Mexico tag with the Mexican eagle right there on the inside of the glove. So the tags say it on the inside. You do have about an inch thick of padding on the wrist area that goes up to right about here where the thumb is, as well as on the outside palm side, which is right about here where it ends. And then you do have about a ½ inch layer, it feels like EVA padding on the back of the wrist. So wrist support is really a really big feature of this glove. Now going back to the if these are made in Mexico thing, one thing I've noticed over the years after I had my Pro Series gloves is there was other manufacturers like Infinitude, Fight to Finish is a big one, that when I received the gloves, they, to me, look identical to Sabas, both in terms of the kind of leather they use, the thumb. I mean, look, there's a Fight to Finish pair of Fight to Finish gloves, even and it had that Tiffany jewelry company, that Tiffany blue that you want to call it. Even the Tiffany blue look exactly the same as the Sabas one that had the Tiffany blue color as well. So everything about the glove, the cut, the size, the width, the thickness, everything was almost identical. And I know those Fight to Finish gloves, as well as those Infinitudes, are made in Pakistan. So the fact that they were so similar raised some eyebrows, including mine, because I was like, well, these gloves have always been advertised as being made in Mexico, but then there's gloves that look identical to them that are made in Pakistan. So there was a little bit of a conflict there. And I actually went on Sabas's website, and they used to actually have a fact section that basically said, hey, you know, where are these gloves made? And it would say these gloves are made in Mexico, but that's not on their website anymore. I kind of scrolled around and checked their website, and I can't find it anymore. I think they changed the website and they removed that information where it says made in Mexico, and there was a couple other like question and answer type things on there, and they kind of removed that because they redid their website. So I couldn't find that unless I'm not looking deep enough. I couldn't find that on there. So there's a couple things that could be, you know, these could be made in Pakistan, and then they add the tags to the inside, which would be pretty bad. That would be pretty unethical for somebody to do that. Again, I'm not one to point the finger and say, oh yeah, they're definitely, I don't know. I'm not there to see where these are manufactured. Unless you're physically there and you watch where it comes from, you know, I'm not the one to sit there and make judgment on people. But just keeping those ideas out there, you know, they do have the tag, so they do claim they have the tags on the inside that say that they're made in Mexico. Another thing it could be, maybe they are sourcing their materials from overseas and having them manufactured in Mexico. So they might have it shipped. And I know I've heard stories of Grant, where Grant, you know, has their gloves made in Mexico, but they source their own leather hides and have the manufacturer use those to create their gloves for them. So they're a little bit more custom and one-off looking and feeling. So that's a big possibility too. Maybe they're using someone else's material. But this leather, if you're going to compare this to a lot of other Mexican-made gloves like Casanova, Campeon, Reyes, Boxeo, Boxeo TM, Zapol, these gloves definitely, the leather on these and the liner and the feeling of them definitely are different than all of those other ones. I noticed with Mexican gloves, they typically have a little bit more of a rugged feel. Their leather is usually stiffer. The inside liners is usually like they use like a softer, kind of like a canvas. They're a lot roomier in the hand compartment, I noticed, because of the latex foam. They don't put a lot of emphasis on like softer style liners and foams to give you a little bit more comfort. It's really like kind of like an old school rugged feeling glove. Typically what I see with a lot of the Mexican style gloves, where the Sabas to me are a lot more comfortable. The leather feels a little bit softer. It doesn't feel as rugged. Still nice, just doesn't feel as thick and has that same Mexican, even the smell of it doesn't smell the same as the Mexican gloves I've seen from like Campion, Reyes, and all the other ones I've tried. So there's some differences there, but I definitely wanted to kind of give you guys my take on that whole situation, whether or not they're made in Mexico or not. And again, physically having the gloves, they do look a lot like a lot of the Pakistan-made gloves, like the Infinitudes. The Fight to Finish are very similar to these, but the tags on the inside say these are made in Mexico, so take it for what it is. So now the quality of these gloves are very nice. Quality of the leather is very consistent. It has a nice satin look to it. No issues with any imperfections on the leather hide. No issues with bubbling inside the foam. No issues there. Placement of the logo is very nice. Stitching looks really clean overall. You can see the stitching on the edges of the glove looks really good. Good balance and weight distribution throughout the entire glove from top to bottom. So you can see that the weight is distributed evenly throughout the glove. It's not top heavy. Stitching on the thumb as well as the attached thumb looks really clean. So everything looks really nice there. Where the index finger meets the thumb looks clean. You can see that the leather is bonded nicely around the fingertip compartment, bonded nicely to the triple layer of foam on the inside that they use. White double stitching looks nice and clean, very nice and symmetrical. The piping looks good. And again, they've done a really nice job of improving the piping both on the leather strap as well as on the palm side right there. Full leather strap, nothing vinyl or synthetic there. Again, really nice job on the inside. The liner looks pretty clean overall. No issues with any tears or any exposed foam. And the piping along the cuff looks really good, stitched in nicely. No issues with that. Velcro quality is good, stitched into the actual Velcro strap nicely. Full length on the back right there. The stitching right here on this seam looks pretty good. Right there might be a little bit of over stitching, but nothing I'd be too concerned about. Stitching on the outside edge looks pretty clean, and nothing that actually is showing any protruding or ripping out. One thing I did notice though is that you have a little bit of the color from the leather that is starting to rub off on the white, and you can actually see a little bit of that red dye rub off on that. So I'm not sure if there's any way you can correct that. Maybe they can add some kind of coating to prevent that from happening, but you can see a little bit of that white. And then even on this part right here, you can't really see good in the video, but there's a little bit of white leather that's rubbed off. So that constant rubbing right here on the thumb and the finger is what's giving you that little color transfer. Again, not a huge deal, but just something I noticed there. But overall, the quality looks really nice. Comfort is excellent with these gloves. You slide your hands in here, feel really nice. Being a 16-ounce gloves, these definitely will accommodate hands of different sizes. You can see it's nicely broken in. Thumb placement on these are great. I don't have any issues with my thumb jamming. Has a nice enough room inside there. It's not too tight. You don't feel like your finger is getting pinched down on. Fingertip compartment is really nice and deep. You can make an excellent fist. I like how they added a piece of foam on the fingertip right here, right where the seam is at, to give you a little bit of extra comfort. Grip bar is perfectly placed. Wrist support is awesome. I think them adding a little bit more padding on the wrist area, especially the front, together with that 1/2 inch EVA on the back of the wrist, is really giving you a nice locked in feel. But again, just like my previous Sabas Pro Series gloves, they have a really nice, relatively broken in feel, even when they're new and after you use them. The more you use them, they really get nice and soft and broken in, but these feel really good. Comfort is definitely there with these gloves. I didn't have any issues with any discomfort with punching the bag with these. No issues with my wrist hurting, my thumb, any numbness in certain parts of my hand, any pinch points. So that's a really good feature with these gloves. Now, protection and performance, you can actually see they use a 3-layer polyurethane foam padding on these, so it gives it kind of a mid-density feel. I'd say that these are probably Sabas's most popular gloves because you can use these really for anything in the gym. Sparring, hitting the bag, hitting the mitts. And the polyurethane foam does a really good job of absorbing shock, giving you a good amount of feedback. So it's kind of right there in the middle. It's a perfect blend in order for you to really just use this. If you needed one gym glove, this would be it. This would be the glove you can pretty much use for everything. So you don't have to carry a glove for your bag work, glove for your sparring, glove for the mitts, smaller gloves. These, are good size for really any kind of work. And the profile of the gloves are compact enough to where they're not like these really big, bulky sparring gloves where you feel like you have a ton of foam, and they just take up a lot of room and feel really obtrusive. So I like the fact that you can really use these for everything. You can see that the punch surface has a nice flat surface, and you can make excellent contact with this. You don't have any issues with any kind of angled shots, uppercuts, or hooks rolling off the target. So you can make excellent impact right there with those. And again, I feel like these are essentially the same as before, the kind of foam they use. And once it's really broken in, I feel like these really form to your hand with the kind of foam that's on the inside of these gloves. Cost-wise, these gloves are $129. All things considered, I do know that Sabas also does some discounts through different holidays throughout the year. Sometimes they have discount codes. So for $129, these are really good gloves, man. I think the quality is right there. I think the protection, the performance are all right there. For that price point of being $129, there's other gloves out there in the kind of the $100 price range that are not as nice as these and don't feel as comfortable. It might be a little bit more uncomfortable. The foam is too stiff. So for a good all-around, boxing glove that you can really use for everything, for $129, and especially if you can get them on sale, I think they're well worth it, being at the price point. Again, to answer you guys questions about whether or not they're made in Mexico, the physical aspect of the glove, the way they look and feel, they're very similar to a lot of the other Pakistan-made gloves, but there's definitely tags on the inside that they said that they're made in Mexico. So you guys take it for what it is, but just want to give you guys my feedback and my take on them, on these newer style Pro Series gloves compared to the older ones as well. So hope you guys found that informative. So if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them down below. I'll make sure to put the link in the description box where you can find these Pro Series gloves. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.